Afternoon. I'll take this opportunity again to welcome you to this fifth session of our consulting skill and leadership certification program. And this afternoon we continue with our consulting skill. Part of that is part of our syllabus coverage. For those who are new to us, please visit our website. You may get insight of our syllabus. We are entitled, or we are considering, or we are our mission. We are supporting people who have inadequate consulting skills to obtain consulting skills, so that they become better performers in the industry, their business, and their working place. So it's part of the coverage for the certification program from the Institute of Management Consulting Tanzania, and that is continuing from month of August, and now we're just on our third month, this October. So I welcome you to join us in this program, and I believe that through this program you learn issues and master some skills that will enable you to become better consultant and earn more income, but support also the humanity to be better of who they are. Today I would just want to remind those who are intending to sit for professional examinations in December that we have got almost 2 months to remain. So those who are still want to register, the deadline for registration for December examination is 18th of October. But those who are doing examination in June 2022, 4th June 2022, the registration is on until April. But those who are intending to stretch themselves and use this platform of materials and training program to understand better their consulting skill and be able to assess their capability and ability through the examination. So I welcome you to register. So visit our website and send a registration requirement. Then we'll send you to form and other required materials and other information that might be relevant for you to sit for the professional examination. Mind you, we have a 3-layer examination. The first one is a foundation stage that is done online. And if you pass, you go for the intermediate stage and the final examination. Then those you're supposed to pass foundation and the intermediate stage examination before you go for the final examination, which is a written examination. It's not again online. Soon thereafter, you are supposed to undertake minimum of 2, maximum of 3 consultancies to your selected field, or we can advise you, or we can support for you to get a client who is in need of consulting, that kind of pro bono consulting. And from thence you can be able to present your paper before the panel, and if you pass, we register you to the Certified Management Consultant register. Now, to proceed today, I would like us to also remind the participants that we are conducting various training, and this is our program. Today we look forth on the area, still continuing with the consulting process, and it's my hope that as you study, you gain understanding of other various areas for application. To proceed this today, I would like us to consider consulting capabilities and the skills. Consulting capabilities and the skill, and that will come soon after this short break. All right. So we're talking about consulting capabilities and the so-called skills. There are major 4 capabilities that a consultant must have, which also you must have. If you're writing up a note, it's very important, take this. Number 1, you must have technical expertise on the subject matter you want to talk about. if you are talking about organizational capacity building, you are talking about training, you are talking about supporting a client perhaps to do the strategy. So you must have the technical expertise. So if you're interested much in consulting and you don't have technical skills on a particular area, you may have some time to develop that skill for maybe 3 to 5 years, and then you become competent and confident on that area. So it's very important. Don't take an assignment which you're not competently capable of undertaking it. But alternatively is for you to work with another consultant who is technically expert in that area and achieve the best out of that. But also working with another consultant, you need to be very confident of that person, because you may end up being frustrated. Number 2 is relationship skill. It's about how to relate to the client. I've been finishing the consulting assignment this afternoon. I've been developing the framework for strategy in one of the organization, and typically relationship brought me better performance on the consulting than even the technical skill itself, because you are doing your consultant work with a human, not animals, not trees. They're people, and these people they need to engage. They need to get engaged. When you start always the assignment, they will become buffered up. They will become muted. But as you go on, develop relationship. Sometimes it's good even to go for outing together, but maintain your professionalism and also be objective. Don't cross the borders. But relationship is core to the consulting skill. Number 3, develop the engagement management. That is, you need to know very clearly understand with the client about the scope of this task, the methodology, the expectation. That's very important. And lastly, the business acumen. You need to know what business the client in, who are the competitors. Last week we had some presentation concerning the different methodologies that you could use as a consultant to support you to achieve the best strategy consulting assignment. And one of them was trying to understand the client strategy. You remember the Michael Porter model, whereby you look on 5 forces that might affect a company to achieve the best it is to be. This kind of a thing that I'm putting forth for a better reasoning and a better understanding. How do we make sure that the client is aligned to what his expectation is as we perform our consulting work? So these are the 4 capabilities that are critical to any consulting assignment. Just to recall, technical expertise, deal with the nature of the assignment. It might be a strategy. You need to know how to do the strategy work. Perhaps it's better to have a practical experience. I've been in strategy, I've taught strategy, but also I've conducted or I've implemented a strategy for a company. But also relationship skill, I need to emphasize on that. And then engagement management. And lastly, you need to know the business with the consultant that's in. It's that result into consulting performance, which might be between 1 to 100%. Now, the level of percentage, whether high, medium, or low, it will depend on how much you have been able to put up technical expertise, relationship skill, engagement management, and business acumenship. Let's now see the consulting process. Typically, consulting process is about getting the client, increasing number of clients, and keeping the client. That's most difficult. And today we got a client and we had a very good ending, whereby we got even gifts from them, at least a bottle of water and the juice. It was appreciative because we engaged them. We are expert on what we are doing. We created a relationship, but also we are able to showcase our business acumenship of what they're doing. Nowadays it's easier because internet has a lot of information that any consultant can use to showcase his capability and ability and make a difference to the marketplace. Rather than old time, it was hard. I was doing consulting this week in the questionnaire sector, And I never knew questionnaire sector. I knew how the methodology of that assignment, but I never knew how it operates. So I had to go through the internet, asking people to get understanding. So the issue is getting the client. That is relationship skill. That is how do you get the client. I remember an example of Donald Trump in a book called The Art of the Deal. Those people are listening to me now. I ask you to consider buying that book. It's called The Art of the Deal, Donald Trump. It's a very nice book. Forget about what people say about Donald Trump, but he's a really good business acquire. And it's contributed a lot on the knowledge base of the business by looking at practical instances of which what he's doing. And no matter that is sometimes crossing the borders, going to very rift your life part. But in the end of the day, what you can take, and what you can leave, just leave it. So relationship step is clear. And from a perspective of Donald Trump, he said that every person he meets in this world, he get the business card. Then he reserved the business card. And then on an occasional basis, every person has received business card with, you call back to ask you for more assignment, to ask you for more task, to ask you for more consulting work. A second stage is contracting, whereby you intend to contract. And in this, I would like to be very clear that never go for a contracting before the so-called inception. Inception is very important for you to understand what the client really need before you embark into contracting. Many times there has been variation, price variation, time variation, even the cost variation, because of the lack of ability to design a common understanding for what the client would want and what the consultant is expected to do. Number 3 is assess the consulting work, and then start delivering. Then after delivering, obtain feedback. On last part is, now on obtaining feedback does not mean you are answering the question, but you're so after the feedback, then you go to solution and design, whereby now you can be able to know what to fix and what to fit, and then you integrate, then you go on with the renew and the closure. Actually, that's what a typical consulting process should involve. Let's see the element number 1 for the consulting skill, and that is called business acumen or business acumen. You need to see bigger strategic issues before the client. You should be able to define business solutions, possible process knowledge of the function area of business industry sector, can define change management issues, understanding the competitive landscape, provide the relevant skills, strategy, tools, and ideas to the client, use their knowledge and experience to build a strong rapport and a sustainable relationship with the client. Let's see the so-called client development, that is the consultant zone of influence. Where do you get the consultant zone of influence? That is what the next press is talking about. And to get is about getting, growing, and keeping clients. Getting, growing, and keeping clients. Getting, growing, and keeping clients. And that will lead to 4 items which are very important for you to understand, particularly if you're doing the exam. The issue is about promoting your consulting ability, qualifying for your consulting, that is a tendering process perhaps in the client side, and the 4th one is committing to the task and then delivering the task. And that we talk about, you promote because you get some leads, that somewhere I can get a client, and then when a client is agreed to talk to you, it's called a suspect. When a client has agreed that you're gonna go to the contracting stage, that is prospect. And when the client is, you have served the client and it has received the goods, is what we call customer. And the last one is when you are delivering the expectations, and that is the so-called client. So there's a different level. We start with the leads, suspect, prospects, customer, and the so-called clients. So let's see how do we prospect for the client, making a C-level call. Before we proceed, just have a short break of 2 minutes. then we shall proceed from there. Right. So let's see, how do we make a C-level call? Okay. Number one, enter right to be there. Do your homework. So before you call someone, a client, make sure that you've done your homework by looking on the internet, industry information if there's any, published report if they're available. Understand, don't go without knowing them. Be ready to share something of value first to the client, best practices before you probe. Bring supportive data to back up your claims that, okay, this industry seems to be tangling. Where do you get that information? What can you offer? Think and talk big picture. Don't talk small things. Don't go operational. Be strategic. And then link your conversation to how your solution will address the critical issues that a business is facing or a business is not making way forward. Now, on relationship skill, this also goes to some 6 levels. Mind you, in this first part, we are looking on the business acumen as part of the consulting skill and process that we are considering. Now, in consulting relationship, building up a strong consulting relationship skill, there are some terminology which are very important for us to understand and be able to reason out, trying to see how can. Number one is a so-called credibility. Credibility is very common, and we all know that is about speaking the truth, number one. Number two is about saying what you surely do, not just a guessing work. And when you talk, another thing is about value. That is, what kind of value, what do you want to bring to the client? That's very, very critical part of the elements for building the strong consulting relationship. But also the issue of commonality. We'd say that when you go to familiarity brings to the decepts. It's very dangerous to be too familiar with the person, because always will come to contempt, and when contempt enter, that's a big challenge. And also we have got the issue of trust. The client will always need to see the trust. How can he trust you better? How can you start you more? Those kind of the things are there. But there is an issue which you call it decorum. Yeah, and that's also a very important component in the consulting, and that is a kind of decor that you present before a client to make a change or make a difference concerning that. Also, we see that a need for empath, to become empathetical, that is to wear the shoes of your client, and see how can you help the client to get around what he's intending to look into. But further to that, there's an issue of empath, that feeling like what the client feels, and not only feeling but also taking the shoes, wearing that. There's an issue of decorum, and the issue of commonality. We shall also explain further on decorum in course of this presentation this afternoon, so that a better understanding can be achieved for all of us on the issue of what the decorum is representing as part of our consulting role. Now, I would like you to go to the internet and do this exercise. Before we go to further explanation, write short notes on the following. Number 1, decorum. Number 2, empath. Number 3, credibility. And number 5, commonality. And then you can just correct by sending an email to me, and we'll see what kind of outcome that you've come out with in the course of this presentation. And for each assigned element, add 3 more important actions that you can take to be more effective in building up the so-called client relationship. That's very critical. Now, there's an issue of building up a rapport that is about the relationship. And everyone can learn about the better rapport, that's speaking good about something and promoting it. And try to do the exercise by pretending you're going to meet the client for first time. List the verbal and non-verbal clues that you need to be aware in the building. Another skill that's very important is listening and probing. That's a critical skill also on listening and probing. Because in the end of the day, you want to get the best solution to the client. And to get a best solution, you need to be conversant of really what the source of the problem, the magnitude, to avoid the embarrassment that what you are suggesting, perhaps the client already knew it or is just working on that. So before you can solve client problem, you have to answer some question. Number 1, do I actually know the client issues? Do I really understand it? Does the client know what I know, his or her issue? Does the client know that you know his or her issue? Does the client know? That's a kind of a question. Listening and probing are tools needed to answer this question. That's what you can go deep on. Let's see some barriers of listening, this part of exercise. Number 1, individually think of a recent situation, business or person where you lack listening caused the problem. Yeah. Many times we interrupt when someone is speaking. I've learned this nowadays as a consultant. You may say, okay, I want some few money. Normally when you are bargaining for the fee, you keep quiet, not to talk the figure. Then that man said, oh, maybe we think about giving you some 20. Before he finished, I say, but you know the work is this, and so he stopped it, and I missed that good money instead of the 20 what dollar I got just one. So many times it's good to speak only when need be, unless you're doing consulting that is training, but also don't overskip going to something which are not relevant to the